All right, let's dive in, shall we? Today we are headed straight to Portugal to explore this musical phenomenon that's been well, it's making some serious waves. It's called Lisboa Azul. And I was checking out the excerpts from that website you sent along with those other documents, and honestly, I'm already hooked.
What I think is so fascinating is that it's not just like some random new genre. It's a fusion of like two incredibly rich musical traditions, Portuguese fado and Brazilian bossa nova. So you're getting this like really unique blend.
Okay, now I'm really interested. Bossa Nova, I get it. It's those like smooth, sunny vibes, makes you want to, I don't know, sip a caipirinha on the beach. But Fado is more of a mystery to me. Can you explain that a little bit?
Imagine that feeling of like bittersweet longing, that yearning for something lost, a sense of melancholy, but like also beautiful, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Saudade, and it's at the heart of fado music. Like it's deeply emotional, often accompanied by the Portuguese guitar, which has a very distinct sound.
So it's like taking that raw, soulful energy of Fado and then blending it with those laid-back, cool vibes of Bossa Nova. That's got to be interesting to hear. But before we like totally lose ourselves in the music, the source material mentions something about Lisboa Azul being used in Portuguese schools, like in the curriculum. Can you tell me more about that?
It's pretty amazing, actually. So instead of sticking solely to like classical music or even traditional fado, they're embracing Lisboa Azul, integrating it right into their music curriculums. And get this, they're hosting like these interactive workshops and master classes even, led by Lisboa Azul musicians themselves.
Wow, that is definitely a forward-thinking approach to education. I mean, how often do you see a brand new musical genre being taught right alongside, like, you know, the classics, in schools? It seems like a real commitment to nurturing this new art form.
Right. And they're not stopping there. They're
Yeah.
creating partnerships between, traditional music conservatories and contemporary artists. So it's fostering collaboration and mentorship for these young musicians. It's really like a whole ecosystem built around supporting Lisboa Azul.
Yeah, I can see that. It's one thing to teach a new genre, but it's another to give it a place to actually thrive, right? To have young artists performing and all that.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of young musicians, I remember reading something in the source material about all these amazing opportunities opening up for them, something about festivals and universities and even like international exchanges.
You got it. You're seeing performance platforms popping up everywhere at festivals, universities, you said, even school concerts. So these young artists are getting a chance to showcase their talent. And the mentorship programs, let me tell you, imagine being a young musician and you're getting guidance from these established Fado-Bossa artists, like Antonio Zambujo or Carminho. It's pretty huge.
Seriously, that would be, I don't know, a dream come true for any musician to learn from the legends like that. And the international exchange programs, too, that sounds so cool, connecting Portugal and Brazil, the music institutions there, fostering that cross-cultural collaboration. It's just amazing to see this genre breaking down those geographical barriers.
Yeah, and it really speaks to music's power to, connect people, bridge cultures. But you know what's even more amazing? Lisboa Azul isn't just limited to those who actually happen to be in, Portugal or Brazil.
Yeah.
Thanks to technology, this music is finding like a global audience.
That's right. They're really using everything, streaming services, social media, online education resources, all of it, to make sure anyone can experience Lisboa Azul no matter where they are. You don't have to travel to Portugal to get it, which is pretty incredible when you think about it.
And that's a huge advantage, especially for a new genre like this. It helps it reach a much wider audience, maybe people who would have never discovered it otherwise. It creates a global community around this music.
So we've got this awesome fusion of genres, a supportive education system, incredible opportunities for these young artists, and then with technology, it has a global reach. Sounds like Lisboa Azul is really set up for success. But let's be real here for a second. Building a sustainable musical ecosystem, it takes more than just hype and talent, right?
Exactly. Sustainability is definitely key. So that means having regular venues dedicated to Lisboa Azul, providing funding, creating dialogue between the artists and educators. It's about creating that infrastructure where this genre can not only survive, but thrive.
And this is where I think TATANKA comes in, right? The source material mentioned this organization as being, well, pretty heavily involved with this whole Lisboa Azul movement. What's their story?
What's inspiring about TATANKA is that they're really dedicated to, inclusivity. They're all about uplifting voices that are often marginalized through music. For instance, they've got this Orchestra Americana, and it features musicians from such diverse backgrounds, brings together a range of talents and perspectives.
That's so cool. And I remember they even shared that story about Sophia, that Somali Portuguese woman who kind of, found her voice through Lisboa Azul and that orchestra, shows that this movement is about way more than just music, right? It's about representation, creating a space where everyone feels welcome and can express themselves.
I think her story really embodies what TATANKA is all about. Music as this tool for social change. Breaking down those barriers, building bridges between communities, giving a platform to voices that might not otherwise be heard.
And that brings us to, I guess, the heart of it all, the music itself. Now, the source material included, I think there were lyrics from a fictional Lisboa Azul album. And I have to say, these lyrics are just, I don't know, captivating. They're like these little poetic snapshots of Portugal, each one telling a story, painting a picture. And honestly, I am dying to dive into them.
What's really striking is how deeply rooted these lyrics are in, Portuguese culture and identity. They explore these themes of longing and nostalgia and the beauty of nature. It's like taking a lyrical journey right through the heart and soul of Portugal.
Okay, so let's start that journey. What about Saudade Atlântica? That title really intrigues me.
So that translates to Atlantic longing. And as you can guess, it's all about Portugal's really deep connection to the sea. It speaks to that history of seafaring, the longing for those lost at sea. I mean, there's this one line that gives me chills every time. It says, "O vento sopra do mar profundo, traz histórias que não volta mais. Las foi barco sem destino, nele e no amor que nunca se desfaz."
Wow, that's beautiful and heartbreaking, all at the same time.
Right.
It really speaks to that, that sense of loss and yearning that's so connected to the ocean. And then there's Lisboa ao entardecer. That's like Lisbon at sunset, right? And you can practically feel the nostalgia, seeping through the words in lines like "Nos telhados da alfama a luz se esconde e as sombras dançam nas ruas vazias. Uso a guitarra num tanto distante, chamando por mim en notas tardias."
It's exactly like a sonic postcard from Lisbon, capturing that, I don't know, magical hour when the city lights start twinkling and the day kind of fades away. You can almost smell the salt air and hear the faint strum of a guitar in the streets.
Okay, you've officially transported me there. And then O vento da serra, the wind, whispering through the mountains, carrying those ancient legends. This line, "Pelas laderas frias da serra, corre o vento como lamento. Conta segredos de tempos antiguos, perdidos na voz do firmamento." Gives me shivers, honestly. Such a sense of mystery, like those mountains are whispering secrets to you.
It is incredible how each song seems to capture a different side of Portugal. From those bustling cityscapes to the serene countryside, the ancient myths to modern anxieties. And there's a depth to these lyrics that really draws you in.
I am loving this lyrical deep dive, and I know we need to keep exploring these songs, and I'm really curious about how they kind of reimagine those traditional fado elements, but we need to take a little break. We'll come back to it in just a bit. All right, I'm ready to get back to those lyrics that were so interesting. We were talking about how Lisboa Azul is like this blend of tradition and innovation, so I want to see how that plays out in the music.
Well, a song like Amália e o Jazz, for example, that's Amália and the Jazz, if you're translating. It's a really interesting take on Amália Rodrigues. She's a fado legend. It blends her iconic style with, as you can probably guess, jazz influences. It's both like a tribute to her legacy and this really bold move into new musical territory.
Whoa, hold on. Amália Rodrigues. For those of us who aren't fado experts, can you give us a bit of background on her and why this fusion is so, I don't know, significant?
Oh, yeah, of course. Amália Rodrigues, you could say she was basically the queen of fado, incredible voice, full of raw emotion, and her performances were legendary. She really helped to make fado popular, internationally, and she's still so revered in Portugal, one of their greatest cultural icons.
Wow. So to take her music and blend it with jazz, that's like a musical revolution in the world of fado, right? It really shows how Lisboa Azul is pushing those boundaries, honoring the tradition while also making something new.
You got it. It's not about forgetting the past. It's about building on it, Find those new ways to express what fado is all about. And it's not just about Amália. There's another song, Guitar e Saudade, which is like guitar and longing. And it really focuses on the Portuguese guitar as this, instrument of nostalgia storytelling.
Oh, that's perfect, because the Portuguese guitar has such a unique sound. It's so melancholy. You can just feel the saudade.
Absolutely. And the lyrics in the song really emphasize that, how the guitar is used to express those really deep emotions in fado. the ones that are hard to put into words. It's like this musical conversation between the past and the present.
This is so fascinating. I'm really starting to see how these lyrics bring together so many things: history, culture, all these emotions, musical innovation. I'm seeing a couple of other titles that really caught my eye. O Segredo da Azuleo and Pescador de Estrellas. What stories are those songs telling?
So, Segredo de Azuleo, that's the secret of the azulejo. It's all about the tile work you see all over Lisbon, the azulejos. Those colorful, intricate tiles. They're on churches and houses, fountains everywhere. They're like part of Lisbon's identity.
Yeah.
This song uses them as this metaphor for the hidden stories, those layers of history within the city itself.
I love that. Like those tiles are whispering secrets if you just get close enough. And what about Pescador de Estrellas? That sounds, I don't know, magical.
Pescador de Estrellas is Star Fisherman, and it's really about anyone who dares to dream big, who reach for what seems impossible. It's about that Portuguese spirit of exploration, that longing for something just beyond the horizon, kind of like what Lisboa Azul itself is doing, pushing boundaries, going into uncharted territory.
Oh, you're so right. It's like Lisboa Azul is this embodiment of that same spirit, taking those risks. Speaking of exploring new things, another song that caught my eye was O Fado-da-Saudade Moderna. What's that all about?
That means the fado of modern longing, and it looks at how technology has changed how we experience saudade. It's this idea that in our world we're constantly bombarded with information, images, everything, and that can actually make us feel disconnected, like we're longing for something real.
Isn't that the truth? We're surrounded by connections, but can still feel isolated, like we're missing something. I can see how that song is taking the fado idea of saudade and putting it into, I don't know, a modern context. There are a couple more titles I want to ask about. They stand out: Porto Azul and 𝗧𝗓𝗪𝗧𝗔𝗡𝗏. Can you tell us a bit more about them?
Porto Azul, which is Blue Porto, it's a bit of a melancholic tribute to the city of Porto, Portugal's second largest city. It explores Porto's history, the connection to the Douro River, and it captures that bittersweet nostalgia, that feeling you get in Porto.
I like that Lisboa Azul is pulling inspiration from all over Portugal, not just Lisbon. What about 𝗧𝗓𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 That title sounds really interesting.
𝗧𝗓𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 means goodbye without leaving. And it's about that feeling of being an immigrant, of being uprooted, even if you haven't actually left your home country. It's about identity in a globalized world, that feeling of belonging and not belonging at the same time.
That's such a powerful theme, especially for Portugal with its history of emigration. It's like Lisboa Azul is capturing those universal human experiences, the emotions that go beyond borders and cultures.
That's what makes this music so powerful. It speaks to something deep inside of us, regardless of whether you're Portuguese or not. It's about the human experience, love, loss, and that search for connection.
I think we've explored pretty much this whole fictional album. We've covered so much, from the fusion of those genres, the support for young artists, the technology part, the lyrics and themes. But there's one more thing before we finish up. We were talking about how Lisboa Azul is maybe redefining what it means to be Portuguese in the 21st century. Can you talk more about that?
Fado has always been seen as that, like the ultimate Portuguese music with that saudade, the longing for a past that was beautiful and melancholic. But Lisboa Azul is pushing those boundaries. It's like it's saying we have this history and tradition, but we're also open to the world, to new sounds.
I see what you're saying. Lisboa Azul is creating this more, I don't know, inclusive idea of Portuguese identity. It's not about being stuck in the past. It's about evolving, adapting, and creating something new while still honoring the core of Portuguese culture.
And that openness is everywhere. The fusion of the genres, using technology and digital platforms, the collaborations with artists around the world. It's about understanding that cultures are connected, that we have shared experiences.
And we can't forget TATANKA's role in all of this. They aren't just promoting the music, they're making the industry more inclusive, more representative. It adds another layer of meaning to this whole movement.
For sure. It's about creating a space for musicians from all over to come together and share their stories. It's about breaking down those barriers, building those bridges through music.
It's so inspiring to see how Lisboa Azul is combining all of these things. Tradition, innovation, local and global perspectives, artistic expression and social change. It's like, I don't know, a perfect example of what can happen when we try new things and collaborate. I'm curious, what do you think the bigger implications of this movement are? Could Lisboa Azul be like, I don't know, a model for cultural fusion and art in our globalized world?
Now, that is a thought-provoking question, and I think the answer is yes, absolutely. Lisboa Azul is proof that you can create something new and exciting by blending cultural traditions, honoring the past while looking towards the future.
It really makes you think about what else is out there, you know? Like, what other musical traditions are just waiting to be, I don't know, rediscovered and, like, reimagined for a new generation? Maybe we'll see folk music with electronic beats or, classical Indian ragas mixed with jazz. The possibilities are endless.
It really is exciting to think about. And, think about the impact this could have, not just on music, but on culture in general.
Yeah.
If we can blend and collaborate like this in music, why not in other areas of life? Imagine art and technology, all these different cultures all mixed together, creating something really new and inspiring.
It's a beautiful thought, and I think Lisboa Azul shows us what can happen when we, step outside our comfort zones, when we embrace the things we don't know. It's about seeing the value in different perspectives, the richness that comes from diversity and collaboration.
I agree.
I'm so glad we did this deep dive into Lisboa Azul. I feel like I've discovered this whole new world of music, and it's given me so much to think about, cultural identity, innovation, how we connect as people. But before we wrap up, I want to bring it back to our listener. What do you hope they take away from this?
I hope it inspires them to explore Lisboa Azul themselves. Actually listen to the music and feel that fusion. I hope it makes them curious about other musical traditions, other cultures, just all the amazing things that are out there.
I definitely agree with that. And maybe our listener will even be inspired to create their own fusion, blend their own cultural background with something else and see what happens. Who knows? Maybe they'll be the ones to start the next musical revelation.
I love that. And it doesn't have to be just music. You can take this idea, this spirit of fusion and collaboration, and apply it to any part of your life. Art, technology, even how we interact with each other every day.
That's a perfect note to end on. So to our listener, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep your mind open to all those possibilities, all the things that happen when we embrace diversity and collaboration and when we connect with each other.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of Lisboa Azul. We hope you enjoyed it.
And that's a wrap.